Hi, Vladimir.
Hello, Ananda. How are you?
Well, we are all okay here. And yes, we at Saka are busy with this Oro Talks now. This is a series of Oro Talks. You know that all of you who have written articles for that book, we are going to have a bit of a chat. It's not an interview, it's a chat. Get information about your article and more things beyond what you have written.
Mm,
Uh, well, it's indeed a beautiful theme that you have chosen. A comparative overview of Vedic system, Sri Aurobindo and Jean Gebser. Well,
right.
it's very interesting because, as I see here, three philosophies which span from Vedas to Gebser, some of them have been very similar views.
Right.
See, you have given the three main texts. Vedas, you have said, is the Vedic knowledge system of the Manvantaras. And of Sri Aurobindo, you have compared with the human cycle, the systems that you have mentioned there. And Gebser is exactly, is it a book or what are you dealing with there? Is it from taken from a book that which you call the Ever
Right.
Present Origin?
Right. It's his major work, which he wrote before knowing Sri Aurobindo, actually. He discovered Sri Aurobindo later. And then he was amazed that the ideas he followed were his, Sri Aurobindo's. And he writes about this, that he was influenced in occult way by the presence of Sri Aurobindo. It's quite an amazing thing.
That's really interesting how he discovers. Uh, and in fact, what you are saying, I found the exact quotation from him,
Mm.
from Gebser, where he writes, I see an explanation for this phenomenon in the fact that I was in some way brought into the extremely powerful spiritual field of force radiating through Sri Aurobindo. I mean,
Right.
he was open to Sri Aurobindo. As you say, he says, I didn't even know Sri Aurobindo, but he quoted immensely in that book. So that is what also caught my attention. And I was thinking if there's anything that we can see. Uh, you brought in a new element of the Gita too. I mean, the similarities between the Gita, that was a very surprise thing for me. And can you give me the references of these verses where you say that this Lord Krishna tells us about the individual history, right? Krishna answers that during Kali Yuga, each individual must introspect. Is there a specific verse or can any references to that?
Yeah, yes, there is a verse that he says that now everyone in his heart will find the supreme. Even women, even Shudras, even women. What to say about my, Brahmins and Kshatriyas, royal bloods? They are all seeking now for this individual supreme within the heart. And this is
Ah,
the whole idea of Kali Yuga being focused more and more on the individual, narrowing down the vast view of consciousness and bringing it to the individual poise is actually the whole idea of the human cycle and coming to individualistic age and finally to the subjective age. Yes. So
well,
Sri Aurobindo somehow follows this idea of the yugas, and
mm,
uh, and I was surprised how he was misunderstood by his contemporaries, especially Radhakrishnan in his history of Indian philosophy. He writes about this, that we like the idea. It's very unusual idea of Sri Aurobindo, but we cannot accept it because we believe in progress. So he really misunderstood the idea of progress, because progress is to manifest in the details the whole spiritual powers in the individual. That is the progress. So
Yeah. But my question was, yeah, I can understand the similarities that you are given between the Vedas and, of course, the Sri Aurobindo. And just now, what you said about this individual focus on the individual, that's the Kali Yuga. Now, I feel that the difference between the Vedas and Sri Aurobindo, Vedas stop at Kali Yuga, do they? Or do they go beyond the Kali Yuga? Because Sri Aurobindo goes beyond the individualist age. He comes to the subjective and the spiritual and all that. But the latter part of the spiritual age is not quite very obvious in the Vedas. Do you think there's something more that we are not mentioned here? Because Kali Yuga is kind of individual.
What do you think? There's something really which Vedas represent. Most probably they represent some vision of the whole group soul from the previous manvantaras, formulated from the previous achievement, from the previous cycle, and now brought in a new manner, which has to be more kind of realized in this cycle. So that's why Sri Aurobindo calls it the human cycle. Interesting, yes, the word cycle. Why cycle?
Yeah. But that's what I still want to ask you. Why is it that the Vedas stopped with Kali Yuga and not opened it up to future possibilities? A return of a Satya Yuga, coming back as Sri Aurobindo mentioned.
They do. The Manvantaras, the whole idea of Manvantaras is ending with Kali Yuga, starting another Manvantara. Cycle after cycle. 14 Manvantaras in one Kalpa, yes.
So I think then that's the answer, that we have to skip to the new Manvantara. In the same Manvantara, it's Kali Yuga is there. I mean, it's kind of the finale of this Manvantara.
And you see, the Kali Yuga, these 4 yugas are like holographic picture, so to say. Within each yuga, there are 4 yugas. Within each portion, there are also 4 portions. It always starts with vaster and narrows down to the more individual, manifested in matter, and that's the whole movement of the spirit.
In that manner, I see Sri Aurobindo is more comprehensive in the sense, when it says human cycle, we can look forward to a kind of more positive age coming, because the Kali Yuga or the individualistic age is not a bright time we see. And even as individual focus, but reading Sri Aurobindo coming to a spiritual age, it says we are going towards a spiritual age, which is necessary for the present times to know that there is going to be a different period or a better age, a spiritual age, isn't it?
Right.
But I mean, for me at present, that's a greater, vaster hope I look forward to.
Oh yeah, definitely. There is something unique about this. What you see, between Manvantaras, there should be pralaya. Pralaya, it's like individual is born, reincarnating. So leaving the body for a while, making a new vision plan and engaging again, born again. Same with the group soul. This is Manvantara. The group soul comes, realizes something through these 4 yugas, and then leaves to make a new plan, new vision, new involvement. But Mother says that, as you know, that there will be no pralaya in between these Manvantaras now.
That's what I wanted to ask you next.
Right.
So you have mentioned here, next is pralaya. Mother says no pralaya, but I think pralaya not in the sense of a total destruction. It's a pralaya of what is not required for the next future. That will be destroyed, she would say. Not a total human destruction or a withdrawal in that sense.
Right. Those in the human cycle in the 21st chapter, I think, or 21st chapter, he says about a very interesting thing. If he says humanity would not consent to go with this forward, with the evolution and transformation
Yeah,
forward, this project of humanity may be closed by nature,
exactly.
and she will open another chapter somewhere. So this is a very kind of a bit disturbing news for us, just to think that we have to make a conscious choice now.
Yeah,
Definitely.
conscious choice. But the choice is left to us. I mean, in the sense, it's not the pralaya that will come in spite of you or whatever your effort. It
Right.
is at least that gives us a choice, saying, okay, you make by nature, as a species. That's true. But Sri Aurobindo, I feel we have a kind of something to look forward to. Of course, given the choice and if we accept the choice, it's a more positive finale, the more positive conclusion, I see. Instead of having a manvantara of which I have no idea what's going to be. But here is a subjective age and then spirituality coming in. It's a more comprehensive, I think. I don't know. That's what is my reading into
Yes,
Sri.
yes, absolutely, absolutely, and especially for our times. Though he tried, and he has his writings for himself, his notes about different periods of development of those manvantaras. And he names them in a very mysterious way. And maybe it's not the forum to speak about this, but he spoke about the Asuric development, Rakshasic development of humanity. Those were the periods. If we look at the 10 avatars, this would
Yeah,
be the whole picture of our development, yes, starting from the fish,
the,
kurma, and so on.
yeah.
One by one, we develop the whole, manifestation in matter of different bodies, of different types of consciousness. And even these 10 avatars, if you look at them closer, you will see that we repeat them in the embryonic life also. There
True.
was a whole study of this. Yes, it's quite
Yes,
interesting.
I've
So
heard
it
about that.
covers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, coming to Gebsen, this uh, Jean Gebser, you have also given his reading as something, where it says finally a concretization in the integral one. There's a phrase which I couldn't get. Gebser in a system of social development refers to this process as objectivization in the mental structure and finally a concretization in the integral one. I mean, is it the same integral consciousness that Sri Aurobindo refers to, or
I
somewhere else?
think so. At least I tend to think so. Of course, it is not really the same one to one, but the
Yeah, yeah.
idea, that brilliant idea, is there, that concretion of the spirit. That's what he got. He got that concretion is to take place. Yeah, it has to
Ah,
become very concrete, embodied, individualized. He got the idea, Gebser. And Sri Aurobindo follows this idea, which actually not many follow. I know none of those philosophers who would follow this idea. Only the Vedic vision of these,
that of course there's difference.
yugas. Yeah.
That there, no, but is there this? Do you find in your reading of Gebser that this concretization of this integral vision, does it have any spiritual element, or because he does speak about the unknown in the book also, he's speaking of the unknown or the something, where he mentions something of the spirit. He has this the ever-present origin
Right.
in another book. So there is a concept somewhere, if I won't call it spiritual, but something beyond the mind, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah. Right. Well, it's interesting to look at Gebser from his ever-present origin. What is that ever-present origin? Yes, the
Ah,
very book is called like this. It is the oneness of the inner and outer. So in the sense, he doesn't make spiritual as separate from the material. And in that sense, he's very close to Sri Aurobindo. From the beginning, he looks at this origin being manifested in different structures. So first structure would be magical. Magic structure is the oneness of the, so to say, one being. There is no division on the inner and outer yet. The person is outwardly one with nature. Nature rules. And that's what Sri Aurobindo describes. All our stage of infrarational and pre-human development is this, that we are driven by nature, by instincts. Yeah, nature knows how to manage us. So it's this oneness, animal life, and then we move to the mythical structure, where finally we discover that we have a soul. We have another origin. We came from elsewhere.
Yes.
To this nature, and this nature is opposing us, and there is this opposition between the soul and the nature, and all the religions are built on this, monasteries and so on. You have to deny the pleasures of nature in order to find the origin, the inner origin. This Advaita is the most vivid expression of this consciousness, of this structure. And then finally we come to the mental. We discover that, as he beautifully writes, he quotes Petrarca, who he says was the first tourist who was traveling for the sake of viewing the world. Nobody traveled like this before in that time.
Yeah.
So he climbed to the mountains and he saw the Alps, the mountain range. He looked to the right, to the left, he saw the mountains, and he was taken by this, that everywhere he sees the objective world, and it goes farther and farther and farther. And then he writes letter to God, asking his forgiveness. Please forgive me, because in this beauty of the outer world, I forgot about you. This shift to the objective of viewing the world, away from the mythical connection to the origin, is actually this beginning of the mental structure. It started with, of course, with Socrates, who said, I don't need the bards from the past, from the mythical structure, to tell me about the world and its beginnings. I can figure out myself, measure it, weigh it. I have my mind, I can decide, rationalize. So this is the beginning of that mental or rational structure, which is viewing man objectively. And there is a fight between this scientific, paradigm and the religious view on the world. This fight is very vivid in Europe, less in India. India was always inspired by some discoveries, inner discoveries, yes. But India is unique in that way. And then once all these structures are put together, if you see them together,
that's the integral.
Yeah, then if they are not obstructing each other, if they are kind of efficiently contributing to the truth, though they are all three very different, then we have a choice to come to the integral structure.
I found in some of his readings there's a touch of the philosophy of involution and evolution also, although he doesn't mention the two same words. But he mentioned there's something pre-existent, He uses a predestined. The word he says is, all this is predestined. All that's coming out in evolution now, we see, whatever we see.
Right.
He didn't
like that word.
So I thought that predestined is what he means by evolution. Somewhere up to not the same word, but there is a notion of that,
Yes, Yes, he's using mutation word instead. He always speaks about mutation and change of consciousness. So that's actually the ever-present origin, yes? That the spirit is always there, and the
Ah,
constant transformation of nature is taking place by the presence of the spirit. It is charged with the spiritual inner presence, he calls it.
maybe you remember, but I'd like to read out what he said about Sri Aurobindo. I mean, quite a remarkable line
Right.
in one of his books. In a tremendous leap, he means Sri Aurobindo, made up within a few decades for those 500 years which we have lived through since the Renaissance, which formed us, which gave us the detour necessary in Europe via the temporary exclusive validity of the rational. Thus he, the Asian, stood at the same point as anyone of our very best, at the beginning of that path which can lead us to the integral consciousness. That, later on, he says that integral consciousness is the supermind. I
Interesting.
mean, he has really a wonderful understanding of Sri Aurobindo, although he comes later. But he says, yes, I have reflected the same thing without knowing him. Yeah, that's very amazing, his understanding.
Yeah.
And the other thing I discovered in reading about him was his visit to Pondicherry. Did you know about that?
Right,
Gebser.
I know. In 1956, yes, he came and he met with the mother. He stayed 1.5 years, nearly 2 years. And he said that mother embodies the integral structure of consciousness. Yes, she really embodies it.
But he has I mean, being a philosopher, a psychologist like that, look at his description. He says he described Mira Alfasa, the mother, as an exceptionally gifted person. In 2 meetings with her, he was able to experience her authentic perspectiveness and clear vision, and felt her radiating a great force. Gebser makes many valuable statements in this report, stressing that the teaching of Sri Aurobindo and the mother is grounded in Indian tradition but has also integrated Western thought and contains, based on the synthesis, starting point for valid solution of the problem of human unity. And then lastly, one line I end up with. In Pondicherry, there is, as far as India is concerned, according to my knowledge and experience, the only place where the mutual flooding through rational machine technology on the one side and through psycho-spiritual yoga techniques on the other hand starts bearing fruit in the form of a luminous enrichment for Asia and Europe. I mean, quite a sensitive person. He has a kind of a view.
Mm.
Understanding. Well, that was what Gebser's discovery I made. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Vladimir,
Mm.
is your last analysis of the last sloka of Vedas,
Yeah.
which is Samgacham Gachadvam Samgachat.
Mm.
Now, you kind of concluded saying which encapsulates the message of the entire scripture for the future generations. How do you put them? Because the 4 words, which are very similar to Gebser, he also speaks about the hearing and the speech and the thought and the imagination. You have brought in all that together. How is it that you are able to justify that? I mean, the Vedas didn't go by this, but you have
Well,
given words itself as the culmination of the entire Vedic knowledge for the future generations.
right. Well, it is so obvious there that you can't actually not see it. It's impossible not to see it. So, because of go together, speak together, think together. Yeah? So you immediately see the 3 different movements of consciousness, which are so beautifully matching with Gebserian paradigm of being together in the movement of the body, being together in the expression of consciousness, word, and being together in the mental, ideative, rational way of approaching the reality. So in a way, these three are here, and they are all 3 times emphasized. In each sloka, they are again and again emphasized that we have some samidhyuvase vrishanagne, some gachatvam, some vadadvam. Some is the key word, which says together you go, together you speak, together you think. May your well-being be together, as the gods from the beginning of time were together, sharing their different activities for the creation. In that way you come together. So how to come together? It's not so easy, because you have to combine these 3 levels of consciousness, yes, of
Yes.
the will in the body, of the heart in the being, and the mind. So, and this is where Gita also comes with Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. That's where Sri Aurobindo also speaks about these 3 major movements as liberty, brotherhood, fraternity, and finally equality. Yes, these 3 major constituents, parts of our consciousness. They
That's
have
what I
to.
want to ask you. How are you connected with Sri Aurobindo? But you well said that liberty, equality, and fraternity, the togetherness, human unity. Oh yeah, that's true. On the outer level, human unity, and this also come close together. I
Right.
think in a way you're right, Vladimir.
Yeah.
Because you brought all the 3 together, especially in this concept of unity or oneness. All the 3 are very together, very much together. Yeah, I think I didn't get that, but now that you say about unity is the main factor, I think that's a lovely conclusion there. And
Right.
you have
It's a unity is also on both sides. It's like a bigger unity of in the social content, or it is also in context, or it is in the how to become composed, united in oneself. So we are also not one being. We have several kind of elements which have to be united in order for all of us to be united. Yes. So we have to become yuktas, as Gita would say. Yukta, composed, means that my mind and my heart and my will go together. If I compose them in myself, then the composition with others will become more possible, I guess. So,
that's what the mother says. Now first find the unity within yourself first. That's the message she gave. Don't think of the world unity until you find the unity within yourself. You, even speaking about peace and all that. So that was the thing. And of course, I liked in your article the chart that you gave me. That the
uh-huh.
yeah, yeah, that sits well. I think parts of the body also you put them together. Now, another analysis between the 4 periods described by the Vedas and the symbolic age, etc. And the Vedic age, very close to the symbolic age. The second one, the typal, is matching with the Treta Yuga. The symbolic with Satya Yuga, typal with Treta, the conventional with the Dwapara, and finally the individualism with Kali Yuga. Isn't it?
Oh,
So,
yes. 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 Go ahead, please.
yeah, the sentence, you read the sentence. The Vedic system of concept developed by Sri Aurobindo in the human cycle are very closely related. So you have given a very good analysis. That is the symbolic age with the Satya Yuga, Treta with typal, conventional with Dwapara, and the individual with the Kali. And that's where I thought there is a loophole that the next age, the 5th age, the spiritual age, collaboration in the Vedas. So that's what where I question you, which is the
Well,
spiritual age of the Vedas.
This
isn't
is
it?
the beginning of a new cycle, basically. So the transition from one cycle to another is subjective age, which prepares.
Yeah,
Which
what
is,
you said, Manvantara.
right. That gap has to be closed by subjective age. And Sri Aurobindo even says that it's not necessarily that subjective age will lead us to the spiritual age in the human cycle, interestingly. It may happen so, yes, if we do it right. But that subjectivity also can throw us into a very strange situation, as we see it now in the world. You can see all those elements, vital elements, subjective.
What you call the false subject,
Right, false subjectivity. Yeah. So, and it's a
false
very dangerous
subjectivity.
period. Yeah. There is true and false
Is
subjectivity.
there a
Yes.
true and false subjective?
Mhm.
In this, there are these yugas, and you can even have the number of years for each yugas in the Manvantara and all that. But did you find anywhere Shravana mentioning about the 5 stages related with time period or history time period or a general time period? It should be 5,000 years of symbolic age, 5,000 years of conventional age. There's no such period-wise demarcation like we have in the Manvantaras and the Kali Yuga, etc., isn't it? What is your reading on that?
Right.
How are they classified these 5 stages? Although he calls it human cycle, so there should be some kind of a periodicity, I feel.
There is something like, for example, 500 BC, there was a big shift all over the world in all the religions.
That's true.
We see immediately coming Buddhism, Jainism, all these totally new. The Greeks shifting away towards mental structure more and more. Heraclitus, and finally there's Socrates coming with totally new view. So this kind of time, quite flexible, but still Taoism, Lao Tzu comes with a
Mm.
new perspective at the same time. Somehow in this 500 BC, there was a shift. And even some scholars speak about of course, the Kurukshetra 500 BC, but I believe it was much earlier, 3,000 years back, at least from that time. So, but there kind of we can approximately see where the mental structure started to dominate. And it never dominated totally because those infrarational structures are very powerful. We inherited them from the past and they're always creeping in, always. Yeah, even now they are very dominant and mind is very weak. It's not yet established fully in humanity. And Sri Aurobindo speaks about this. We are more vital beings, where mind is just justifying vital needs
Not
more than mental beings. Yes.
so that period what we are speaking about 500 BC, say if the mind was kind of brought in or it descended mental consciousness or a rational consciousness I would put in examples of Lao Tzu and Tao and Confucius and Buddha and
Right.
Socrates, etc. All over the world at one go, entire world, there's the same consciousness that pervaded. Now,
Something
could that
like
be
that.
connected with this end of symbolic age or end of conventional age? I mean, I'm unable to understand where does the conventional age begin and end,
Right. Well,
isn't it?
in that form, you are right. So this is the beginning of the new age, which is more closely related to us. But of course, conventional age will continue. Even now, it is here in the form of settlement of our.
Very much so. We are still
Yeah.
under the conventional age.
And still, we are already a bit different beings. Yes. Though we kind of look at conventions and we kind of respect them, but not totally. We also disregard them to a certain extent. Inwardly, we feel that they are not totally justified. They are justified in the social setting. but individually we are getting more and more free
Yeah,
from
because we in India, we face the problem.
right.
Because I have often wondered about this ages. Convention is still going on, and individual is still there, individual is still there. So age is not an age connected with time period. I feel it's more a stage of evolution, which is in some countries, some cultures is still there, hanging on. You know, so like Europe has gone over the typal and the conventional has come into the individualistic.
Right.
But in India, I don't see much of this transition very clearly. Almost all of them are parallelly existing now,
Oh,
with
India
this.
is unique in that sense. Yes, India. Yeah. India had uninterrupted history, and memory, and from age to age, from yuga to yuga, they are still there. Still, Ram Temple will be inaugurated today. Actually, we are meeting the nice moment of time. Actually, I was waiting for this moment for that temple to be finally, coming back to India. It was destroyed so unfair. Nobody speaks. I look into the news, watch the news from BBC everywhere. Nobody speaks what happened in the past. Why that place is so important. Janma Bhumi of Ram. It's not a small thing, for India. For India, it's a big thing. It's a fun. By the way, Sri Aurobindo somewhere says that Rama was so important because he established the social dharma for India, which is even today followed, and has to be followed till the moment the new dharma comes for social arrangement. So if you think of this is actually to our topic. So Rama established that dharma which is to be followed even today. So
Yes.
it is kind of
Maybe
important.
we have to come back to that stage because there's another word, if you remember, Sri Aurobindo writes that Rama represents the mental consciousness, bringing up the human mind, the sattvic mind.
Right.
Now, with all the fanfare that is going on with the Janmabhoomi and all that, is it that we have to now come back to the rationalistic age? We are already in that.
Yes.
I mean, with the modern world, India is also going in the rational age. So, why is it this importance of Rama coming now, bringing in the mental consciousness? So, it's not exactly the mental consciousness, but what you said, the social dharma, and then rather the new ideal, what you say, Dharma Raj or what is it, Ram Raj. So, that's a kind of a message
Right.
for the external outer world, I think, the Rajya, Ram Rajya, that kind of a new concept.
And that is mind. Yes, mind is social dharma. Mind
Ah,
is there, yeah, because it's an ideal. We have to follow an ideal in social structure. It's a very difficult to follow. It's not a law. He didn't
yeah,
bring a law. He
true.
brought the truth, of social arrangements, which is still valid. And I believe if we read Ramayana, we see how he followed it. It's very, very inspiring even today.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. Well, let's see, where it goes. But yeah, the whole country was looking forward to this day. And as we know that this is, because I suddenly remember, sure, even though I couldn't send you a message, somebody sent us a WhatsApp message saying the what is that? The temple in India. Do you have that message there? It says, very interesting when we found this, he speaks of the temple of India and then that we want the avatar Rama himself. But there is almost, I think, maybe I should not be looking forward to this kind of periods and say this 15th century to 19th century was the period of conventional age. We cannot divide that kind of a period wise. Maybe what in Gebser says we can have this mythical age, archaic age. There's a kind of a loose periodicity. But as you rightly
Mhm.
said, in India we cannot find this, or in Sri Aurobindo we cannot find this kind of a periodicity. I think it's more on the level of the consciousness. The
Absolutely.
conventional age, the symbolic age is in the consciousness. I may be still living in this century in the symbolic age or in the conventional age, but it's my consciousness that is on that level, not
Right.
the events or not the acts or not the outer thing. So
Uh,
ultimately, I'm
it-
being conscious. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I agree with you. If we look deeper, closer, as Sri Aurobindo does in the human cycle, we will see that this holographic picture, which I was mentioning before, that within the yuga there are yugas, there are
yeah.
always divisions within the divisions. They may confuse us because we want to see black and white. One
Ah,
age finished and
on
another
and
age started. It is never like this because within each age there are 4 ages. They will be constantly revealing those elements, coming back, falling back, and going forward, and sometimes for a long time falling back, and that is even more confusing. So, but still, these 4 stages will be there, and the psychological unfolding of consciousness will take place. And that's why he called it psychology of social development rather than the ages, kind of. But
exactly.
still, but still, they fit somehow. They fit also into the bigger picture, like Vedic's, age. Vedic age was more symbolic, was more open to the direct presence of the spirit in nature. They were viewing spiritual enterprise all over around. Sun is rising. All these symbols were natural and normal for people. And then it shifted and faded to some kind of more symbols, more conventions. And that is the process he describes for us to understand the complexity of this unfoldment.
Yeah, but still we come to the same point. Again, it's not a period. It's a kind of a,
No,
yeah, things have changed. Some parts of the society have changed like that. Otherwise, if I go back to my own country, we are seeing the same symbolic or the conventional in different parts. And some parts are gone into the individual age, subjective age even.
sure,
But
sure.
the word age is what is confusing to me. You see, I'm not
Oh, yeah.
able to say, oh, this is the age, that's the age. When we say Renaissance and this way, we can have a kind of in European history. These ages can be very clearly demarcated: 15th to 17th, 18th to 19th. But in this context, especially in Sri Aurobindo's context, it's very difficult to put together the ages. Well, however, there's still a problem that I'm working out. Not yet, but I'm not also
Maybe,
wanted not
maybe,
wanting to.
yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yes.
No, no, I said I'm not wanting to pin down Sri Aurobindo saying this is age of
Yeah,
symbolism from this to this, because the way age of the symbolic age itself is not. I mean, we don't know from when it started, when it ended, and things have changed in the consciousness, in the attitude, in the way of looking at life into a kind of a conventional age and conventional time or conventional consciousness, but not really a demarcation from so and so century. It's not a overturn. It's not that kind of a. It's the attitude has changed. Where
right.
it says very clearly that things have the emphasis of the outer has become and the symbolism has gone. The outer, the birth of the person. That's how the Brahmins became more important and all that. That's true.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Maybe age is used in a sense that in that particular time period, there is more focus on this or dedication to this particular stream of consciousness or working out
Yeah.
this particular, yes, and that is the age, means that in that time frame this is more important than anything else. But even if you think of Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, you will see that it is believed that it is the beginning of Kali Yuga, because there was this big battle and Sri Krishna changed the Dharma. Yeah? And he speaks about this, the change of Dharma. This was the most difficult task for him. it couldn't be done without this battle, without this, collapse of the old conventional dharma. Conventional dharma was settled so strongly that could not be easily removed or changed. It had to be demolished. Yeah. So there are things which are still kind of a mystery for us.
Well, yeah, let's see. But yes, I was really happy to really come up a person who did not know about Sri Aurobindo, Gebser, but was influenced, as it says, by his presence somewhere. Then he comes to Sri Aurobindo ashram, meets with the mother and mother, and it's a very beautiful link is there, between Sri Aurobindo and Gebser and the whole philosophy. So I'm thankful to you that you found a beautiful theme between the three, and of course you highlighted with some of Sri Krishna himself. So that really adds a lot more. Well, I think you have anything more to tell me, or you think it's okay? We can just.
Yeah,
And
it is. We
not
don't
covered.
want to. Right. We don't want to highlight the differences. There are also differences between the two
No
systems.
differences there will be. There will definitely.
Yeah, many. For example, Gebser does not look at the development in cycles. He believes kind of in one way going, so to say. He defines one particular from Stone Age to the modern age and so on. But he doesn't have the knowledge of Indian philosophy. Yeah? He is not rooted in the Indian wisdom. He has other Greeks, he has even Chinese, shamanistic tradition, all those he has quite a good knowledge of, but not about Indian philosophy much. And because of that, for him, most probably was very interesting to discover that it is still ongoing and going on in cycles. Yeah? It's not one-way ticket. It's a cycle after cycle.
Yeah, you're right. Although he writes a book, Asia Smiles Differently, maybe he was more on the Chinese side and others are not too much into Indian philosophy and Indian and Sri Aurobindo and all that. But I don't know. I've not seen this book. Asia Smiles Differently. What did he cover there? Maybe other
I do
philosophies.
not
But
know the book, so cannot tell about
and
this.
it's okay. No, because when you mentioned that he has more a grip of the Asian side, so he has given a book, but not of Sri Aurobindo there. India is different, differences are there, but at least happy that a young man born in 1905 and gone in 73, I mean, almost a very contemporary person, by himself he discovered Sri Aurobindo and he came very close to, so close to Sri Aurobindo in some ways. That's he himself says it was a pure intuition that I got these ideas. Later on, I saw Sri Aurobindo as the same thing, and I was inspired from that.
Yeah,
Of
this
course,
is an amazing. You see, nobody of this magnitude. He was very well known already before knowing Sri Aurobindo. He was already had his followings, and his centers all over the world. He was not a small kind of a philosopher or something. And he was a friend with Picasso, and he was developing a new way of looking at art and so on. And to discover later in 40s Sri Aurobindo, and then to acknowledge his influence on your thinking, it means that there is some truth in him,
That's rightly put. That's very rightly put. And some of his references I've seen, he referred to Savitri and synthesis of yoga, the life divine. So subsequently, he did read quite thoroughly, Sri Aurobindo.
Right. He did.
I mean, he has quoted from Savitri some passages, and there he says this is question of pre-decision, that how Savitri had already a foreknowledge or something was decided about Satyavan. So he does try to go deeper into our own Sri Aurobindo's own books,
Some people met with him. You remember when Michael Murphy came we had this idea to create a University of Human Unity in Auroville.
Yeah.
We all gathered together, and Michael that time mentioned him. He met with him, Gebser. He was that time in the ashram 56, and Asta also. Asta Patel and Michael Murphy were together that time. They were young, full of energy,
Yeah.
and they mentioned Gebser was there. They remember him. Interesting.
Just last thing, I'll read out one line. He quotes for his idea of the predestined.
Mm.
He says, Savitri is telling us, Narad, and nothing happens in the cosmic play, but at its time and its foreseen place. So this man Gebser is saying, look, that is the idea Sri Aurobindo is playing with already previously seen. It's a question of how Gebser is quoting even Savitri to prove some of his points. I was happy to see that close relation. Well, in fact, a very impressive thing. The person and the essay you brought out the relevant things. Well, thank you, Vladimir. I hope
Thank you.
you are enjoying your stay. Your article is lovely. And as I said, there's nothing much except some typographical things are there which we will correct. Otherwise, I think, would you like to see it once again before it goes to the print, or is it okay with you?
It's fine. I totally trust your
Okay.
judgment, so you can you can do what you have to do with it.
Little comments I had to make, I wrote to you and you corrected them and all that. So, I think for me, it's okay. Lovely. Thank you, Vlad, once again.
Thank you so much, Nan. Bye.
How is your institution like us running?
We are growing. We will start. We break the ground, and now within 1.5 years, we will have the whole center built up, and we are looking forward to see you here, coming into our center and with the presentations on Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. So it would be wonderful that this development is taking place.
Well, we are still continuing with our commitment to the 150th anniversary, Sri Aurobindo's birth anniversary. We are committed to the government of India some things, some seminars and book publications and all that. And this Auro Talks is part of that. So until we complete this, we'll not be able to take up other activities of Sakta. So we'll have to complete with this Auro Talks.
I wanted to ask you, since we are already talking about this, we are planning to do the human cycle the whole year. And we would like to have this kind of interaction and presentations, but we want to go thoroughly, nearly chapter by chapter, because each chapter is a unique treasure in a way. If we read it very, without attention, then to detail, then it is like as if we know everything. But we want to pay attention to every detail. And so maybe like 20, 24 presentations on each chapter and discussion follow. So we want to do Saturdays, presentation, Sundays, discussion forum on the elements of the chapter. And then, because I see it so needed now, we are so unaware of what is going on in the world. So this is the thing we want to do. If you will find this meaningful, we would like to invite you and Sakar in general, whoever is.
Keep us in the list and let me see when I can join in. Because the second part, what you said, is most important, discussions. And not give a summary. Otherwise, most of us know each chapter. We are supra-rational, infra-rational. Those people repeat them as parrots, but that's not important. Now, most of us know, but we have to go in depth, substantiate it, have a critical analysis, and really apply it to the present times. Is there anything relevant? When it says individualistic age, are we really the individual or the subjective or the conventional? And as I told, in India, we have thrown all of them. Today itself, we have got another Vedic symbolism coming back, Ram Janmabhoomi. So see, it's a thing that we need to come up with a good discussion. No feeling shy about it. But whatever you feel, good or bad, right or wrong, that would be relevant. Instead of saying chapter 18, then you give you 1 hour for that. You can have 2 hours, 3 hours, three repetitions. Don't make it a kind of a, you know, timed.
Right. Okay, I agree. I agree. Sometimes it takes longer time for some because it needs to be understood. Yes, I understand. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
It has to be kind of, yeah. So we will prepare the proposal and share with you, and if you find it meaningful, or you can make some suggestion how to follow up with this. So
Yeah.
this would be very nice to do together. I mean, we need to bring all the minds together around this
I
topic.
think it's a good idea. Put us together. Let's see. But some format has to be done. Sometimes theme discussions or a chapter wise. Say in one chapter you can have 3 themes or 5 themes. It's not
Yeah.
giving us something. Even the very fact of infrarational age, that itself would take full 1 hour to discuss what it is all about. You see, it's not so easy to say just below the mind. What does it mean below mind or super mind, beyond mind, suprarational? In fact, the mother was very insistent when we were in the higher course to say, you must all read this suprarational beauty and good and the suprarational, the other suprarational good and suprarational beauty. They're the 2 chapters. Somehow she emphasized that very much, saying that all the students should read this. So you see, so there are things we should. One is to understand the text and to see how we are at present. Is it relevant or not? Otherwise, it becomes one more theory, one more book. The
Yeah.
youngsters may not be, turning toward this mind. So
By the
thinking,
way, we prepared the audio book for a human cycle and the ideal of human unity. Narad read, we edited. You can read and hear. You can also listen to it. Listening is another way of getting the meaning, because with the eyes is one thing, but listening, hearing the word, and Narad reads so perfectly, like meaningful, with consciousness, which helps, because these are very difficult concepts. And Sri Aurobindo tries to bring something from his, presupposition. He means something to say. He not only saying, but it means
yeah,
something more. And that what he means is hidden, so it has to be discovered. And it takes, of course, much more time, as you rightly say, than just going through chapter and check, I did this. No, this is not the
I would
knowledge.
also suggest that instead of 1-to-1, you have a small meeting of 3 persons or 2 persons or 4 persons. So in a kind of a group of 2 or 3, more suggestions. We knock against each other, then we come out with something else. 1-to-1, maybe at a point we come to dead end, nothing much to add. But you have 3 of us discussing on the same, like this method, Zoom or something.
Oh,
That may add a little more interest and lively it becomes. Multiple views.
I agree. Yes, it has to be more contribution from the participation,
Ah,
rather than just sitting there and just doing nothing. Yes, I agree. Yeah. So let's think. I will talk to Radha here. But this is a good idea to have some really those who want to be part of this. Discovery. We have to discover again the human cycle, because there is much waiting there.
so in this manner, we can attract some youngsters. Otherwise, it's the same Aurobindonian speaker, the same Aurobindian audience. There is not much. We cannot come out. We bring out some youngsters who do not know much of Sri Aurobindo, but give it such titles, which is not human cycle chapter by wise, so that no young man would ever be interested. But whatever they what are we in the infrarational, take out themes and publicize them.
Right.
Instead of a book, book becomes a kind of a dead thing. Oh, people will say again one more book of Sri Aurobindo. No, come out themes of each chapter and focus on that. Are we in the Vedic age? Are we in this conventional age? In what way? What is the conventional thing? That kind of a questioning, answering, some kind of a, probing answers. So make it more active title instead of having a book being done. But in the background, you keep that as a sort of a base book.
Right.
You keep the ideas are from there, but you should be able to attract because the new
Right.
generation, we have to bring it to the new generation also. Right? Sure. Thank you, dear.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
See you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Namaste.
See you once again.